So our main topic for today is how do you support your toy habit?
I have a job, I have adult money, and I spend it on these things. That's what we do now as adults. But how do we buy them?
Right, over the years, like how did your collection grow? This time we're focusing on a little segment we call Low Budget Bonanza. This is when we take a look at something that comes from the dollar store or some sort of, off-brand retailer. And today I actually have some Masters of the Universe figures I picked up for Mike here.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen these yet. I don't know anything about these, so this should be interesting.
Pegwarmers is the code name for toys and collectibles with high supply and low demand. Join Kevin and his team of collector commandos as they discuss popular and not so popular retro and current toy brands.
Hey, welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And we're here to talk to you about toys.
God help us all. I mean, we did this last time. We got to do it again. This is fun, though.
This is fun, and this is like the heyday for toy collectors. Like, toy collecting doesn't have the stigma it used to have.
Right.
The people that are making the toys of the toy companies are all people our age, so they're making stuff for our demographic.
Yep.
It really is like a great time to be an adult collector.
It is, and I think it's a great time for even kids to be buying toys now, too, because they're making not only toys for us that we really wanted as kids, but they're making versions for kids of those same toys that they can play with, or they can even appreciate these kind of more adult collector toys because they can still play with them because they're toys. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what's really great about it. As a guy who worked in multiple toy stores, I can tell you, this is it. Now, can I not just have just Pegwarmers on the shelf? That's all I want.
Right. If they can fix the stock issue, that would be fantastic.
Yes. But that said, we got plenty to talk about.
All right, so in our news segment, we want to talk a little bit about Transformers Kingdom.
Transformers Kingdom is going to be the new Netflix series, the third part for the War for Cybertron series that's going to be coming out. It's going to be hitting Netflix on July 27th.
29th, did you say?
It's a week after what Snake Eyes and whatnot hit, so 7 days, 23rd. 29th. It's right in that weekend. We'll put it that way. And while the first two series were good. I'm a huge Transformers fan, and I'm hesitant to say that it wasn't great, but it was a little slow-paced. I'm really, really looking forward to this third part because it's called Transformers Kingdom, and they're bringing elements of the original 90s Beast Wars cartoon into it, characters from that show, and I cannot wait for that.
I think it's a really smart move for marketing because if you can sell alternate versions and have it make sense why they're on pegs and get kids interested in that, I think it's a really great marketing gimmick. It's
great. And the fact that we're getting updated versions of toys that we had in the 90s. And now, granted, by the 90s, I was an adult collector at that point. The Beast Wars line really reinvigorated the original Transformers line at that point. It was about to die. Like, it was on death's door. And then, boom, here comes Beast Wars with this amazing cartoon back then. CGI back then, which was way ahead of its time. But the storytelling is what really drove that series and drove that toy line, I think. And
that's got to be one of the first cartoons where we really got away from the every episode ends exactly the way it started kind of thing, where there were consequences and there was an overarching story. Like that has to be an early series to adopt that method of season-wide storylines.
Well, you look at shows about that time, like the late 80s, early 90s in sci-fi, like Star Trek Next Generation. A lot of those were bottle on the ship episodes. But then you get a series like Deep Space Nine that came out, and it was an overarching story every season. And then the last 3 or 4 seasons, they were very overarching for the entire series at that time. Beast Wars kind of adopted that into its storytelling, I think.
For a kid's show.
For a kid's show. Now, granted, they were great standalone episodes, but every episode added a little bit more to the story. You didn't have to know what was happening prior to, but if you did, it made it that much richer. And I think that's what made the toy line that much more special to not only kids who are watching it and seeing this brilliant storytelling, but also to adult collectors like myself who are like, this is great. I need to have all the main characters, and if there's a repaint, I need to have that too or anything. It was just phenomenal. So I'm really excited about seeing not only the toys on shelf coming out about the time that the series hits, but also this series and seeing what their new take on that is. And it's also the 25th anniversary of Beast Wars. It came out in 96. We're now 25 years out, which makes it retro. And I was an adult collector then. Oh no. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the 90s is retro now. I mean, and we see it with a lot of stuff. Beast Wars, Power Rangers,
Yep.
things like that. We're shifting further into 90s pop culture stuff, while the 80s stuff is still out there with Ghostbusters and He-Man and G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
I think that 90s stuff is going to start becoming more and more common.
yeah. I mean, you even have a crossover with, was it Courage the Cowardly Dog and Scooby-Doo coming out. Like, that just blows my
That is
mind.
bizarre.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of that show necessarily, but I know about it. I know enough about it to be like, okay, that's pretty cool. Now, Scooby-Doo's crossed over with just about everybody at this point, even Supernatural at one point, which that was a great episode. But that said, with Transformers War for Cybertron, I really can't wait for that. And it's going to be probably 6 or 7 episodes, and again, half hour or so each. You can sit down and watch them in one sitting and get the complete trilogy of this War for Cybertron trilogy. I just hope that the action is a little bit more, and it's not just a lot of, I'm a talking robot and I'm going to move this much here because that's all we can afford for the animation, and then I'm going to move this way. No, I want to see some real fluid animation. If you're going to have animals and beasts in here,
Yeah.
and you're on Earth, I really want to see that more. Because they even, back in the 90s with the original Beast Wars, as limited as their CGI was, it was very fluid still. It was very beautiful. It was gorgeous to watch. It was like watching art on screen. I want to see that again, but also want to have the rich storytelling behind it. Yeah, I'm a Transformers fan. What can I say?
Yeah, I remember watching Beast Wars off and on as a kid, but I didn't watch every episode, so I missed out on the overarching story effect of that, but I would catch it here and there. And I remember the CGI being one of the most interesting parts about it, was that it looked good and it was so groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was done by Mainframe Entertainment, who also did the Reboot cartoon series.
Yeah.
Reboot being their kind of first precursor to that, and it just took off after that. What I really like, and I keep talking about the storytelling, is they got a lot of famous writers to come onto the show. And one of their best episodes, probably the single best Transformers episode ever written for any medium, was written by DC Fontana, and is titled Code of Hero, from the second season, where a particular character meets his end. But it's so beautifully done, even with the CGI, even with the story. I could verbatim talk about some of these lines that are even said in an episode because it's just so good. And then the voice acting alone is phenomenal. You have Scott McNeil as a Dinobot, Rat Trap, and a couple other characters. You have Gary Chalk as Optimus Primal. You have David Kay as Megatron. Yes.
Gary Chalk actually recorded lines for me one time for one of the retro content
That's
commercials
right.
that we did.
Yeah, he's a great guy, by the way.
Optimus Primal for me.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm going to call out right now. I have to say this. So with the new Transformers Beast Wars movie coming out, live action film coming out next year, the fact that we have Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal, very cool. However, we need Gary Chalk and David Kay to do some kind of voice for the movie somehow. Hasbro, make it happen. Okay, sorry. That's the end of my little rant there.
I think that's a really tough thing for them with the voices. Like, the fans really want the original voices, but for the live action, they tend to want something a little bit maybe grittier than what the old cartoony voices were. Like how they didn't use Frank Welker for Megatron in the first Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Seemed like an odd choice, but Hugo Weaving was popular and had that grittier tone to it than...
I agree. Definitely the grittier tone, but it also put money in the seats, tickets in the seats.
Yep.
That's, butts in the seats. That's what it needed to do. And that's what Ron Perlman's going to do for this movie. That's why I'm not going to say replace Optimus Primal with Gary Chalk. I would love that, but at least bring him in as a voice or even a walk-on character in the movie as like a military personnel, somebody's house who gets smashed up or something like that. David Kay, same thing. Venus Terza, who did a lot of different turns on the Arrowverse and different shows in the CW, she did the voice of a character called Black Arachnia. Bring her on as a walk-on role, or maybe as a mom or something or whatnot. She had a very slinky, sexy voice. I would love to see her on screen in the big screen movie. Sort of like they did with the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah,
in
they had Tommy and Kimberly.
Yeah, they were just in the background at one point.
Just part of the crowd of people watching the Megazord tromp a town.
But just have that. That would make me happy, and I think that would make at least placate a lot of fans and make them happy as well. So you don't need to replace Ron Perlman because he has a great voice. Let's be honest. I can see Optimus Primal talking like this and saying, I need to talk to Optimus Prime. And here comes, Optimus Prime. Like, I can't do his voice. I'm never going to touch Optimus Prime's voice. Never. So
yeah, you can't replace Peter
Cullen. There's just no way. He's a short guy, by the way, but
okay, I've never met him.
He's like 5'2".
Huh.
He's not tall. He is not tall at all. Gary Chalk's tall.
Yeah.
Peter Cullen, tiny guy.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this new cartoon coming out, and I think it's going to be a way to make people excited for the live action film, even though it's a different story. I think that'll put more butts in the seats for that as well, and we might see another movie as good as what Transformers Bumblebee was. I'm really hoping anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're kind of going in a different path. We thought Bumblebee was going to create the new path for Transformers movies, and it seems like they've just gone another direction again.
I have been reading and seeing that some people are saying that they're trying to not touch the Bayverse movies from 2007 on. That's why Bumblebee was set in the 80s, but it could still tie to the originals.
Right.
And this one's going to be set in the 90s, technically, from what I've been reading. So we're going to get a lot of Surge product placement and things like that, I'm betting. Maybe get some as-if as well. I could see Alicia Silverstone showing up in this movie randomly just because. Maybe her Jeep turned... Anyway. So
the clueless Jeep as an Autobot.
No, it'd be a Decepticon.
It would be a Decepticon?
I think it would be a Decepticon. I don't think she would be. I think it would just take over for her.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, you got to bring back Paul Rudd too. But that's just me. But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, and it's going to be set in the 90s for the live action film for that as well.
All right. And then our news segment always segues into new to the collection. What do you got new these days, Mike?
The newest things I've added to the collection recently have been a figure 2-pack. You'll appreciate this, Kevin. Masters of the Universe Classics line, or Origins line.
Origins.
It's the Kronos who becomes Trapjaw and Keldor who becomes Skeletor. I think it's a great set.
This set was so rare. It's called the Rise of Evil set. It was so rare, people were having a fit at Target, and now it's a peg warmer.
It's a peg warmer. It really is. At like $30 or so. It's not super expensive, and it's the price of 2 figures, but it's a really great set, and you get Skeletor with his human head, I guess?
His Gar head.
Yeah.
The blue skin people are Gars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's based on an episode of 2000X, the 2000 redo of He-Man. They gave us backgrounds to a lot of characters because the old Filmation show just had characters show up.
They're there.
And then they just were gone in the next episode, and you never heard anything else about them, right? Like, why does Trapjaw have a metal jaw? Not important. Where did Count Marzo come from? Not important.
No idea.
Right? So in the 2000X show, they really tried to flesh out everybody's background. And in 2000X, Skeletor is King Randor's brother. It's very Thor and Loki because they share one parent, or they don't share any parents. I don't even remember the exact detail of it, but they're brothers, and they're fighting against each other, and Keldor tries to kill Randor with a vial of acid, and the vial of acid gets deflected back at him, and it burns off his face. So this set has Keldor with a very handsome...
Yep.
It's a Skeletor body, basically, with a very handsome blue-skinned face. And then it comes with a Skeletor head that looks very reminiscent to the original mini-comics.
With the ruby eyes.
Yeah, it has little gemstones glued in the eyes, which is kind of trippy looking.
Yeah, I love that, though. They glow really well. And then Kronos just looks cool.
Yeah, he's Trapjaw, but he has like a normal blue face,
and
he has his second arm.
Yep.
And then you can see, like, okay, so he got battle damaged, and they replaced his jaw and replaced his arm.
Yep.
So it's a good pack, though. I like it.
Yep.
It's a totally set for collectors, though. There's no reason a kid
needs it
would
necessarily.
really be into it. It would have even been a great con exclusive kind of set where, like, if you don't have it, you won't.
I wonder if it was going to be a con exclusive, possibly, because everything was shut down initially this past year here, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they just threw it in Target. Because it didn't even have the Target label on it, but it's only available at Target.
Yeah, it's a Target exclusive. Yeah, I don't know whether it was a concept, but it would have worked well for that. It also works really well as exclusives. I like it when the exclusives are something you want, but if somehow you didn't get it, you're not like, well, I never got the core character. Like, you can't make the most important characters your exclusives, because then people don't get them.
That'd be like making Tila an exclusive to just a store.
Right. It makes your collection feel too incomplete when you don't have them.
Well, think about the original run of the classics here, or the Origins line. The first 6 months or so, they were only Walmart exclusive.
They were only Walmart, yeah.
And then after that, they became everywhere, which was the smart way to do it, I think.
I thought for sure when that happened, Target would get cases of the early waves, not wave 1, but like Wave 2, Wave 3.
Right.
But you still only see He-Man and Skeletor in all the stores.
I've very rarely seen anything other than He-Man, Skeletor. I've seen Ninjor, Hordak, She-Ra. Like, I saw that wave.
Okay.
And that's it in Target, and that was it. I've not seen any of the others
Even
yet.
when the deluxe figures come out, they blow out immediately. Like, if they get one case of those, somebody walks in and buys
all
whole
of
case,
them.
and there's just
or
there's
like
none
the
of them left.
3 primary ones that are out now. So I'm now looking for Clamp-Champ. I do need him.
I
I've got
still need
Hordak.
Clamp-Champ.
I've got He-Man, I've got Skeletor. You need that He-Man for the better head too. And then I also picked up recently, and I missed out when they first hit. Now kicking myself because I bought this one figure from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. They came out with Marvel Legends figures for that show, WandaVision, Loki. It's a set of 7 figures from those all those TV shows, but it's a Build-A-Figure for Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Oh, okay.
So you can get the Sam Wilson figure by himself, but then each figure comes with a piece of his wing to give him his wings as Captain America.
That's actually a cool Build-A-Figure.
It's a cool Build-A-Figure, and it gives you everything that's been on screen. Every figure is something that's on screen, not like a comic book 1-2 on top of that. So it's
the
Bucky.
Disney Plus wave.
Yeah, it literally is the Disney Plus wave. It's Bucky, it's Sam as Captain America, it's Baron Zemo, it's Wanda from WandaVision, White Vision from WandaVision, Loki, and one other, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, I believe. But I was like, if I find them all, I'm buying them all at one shot. If I buy one, I'll buy it, and then I'll have to find the others. Recently, I found Baron Zemo.
Okay.
I had to get Baron Zemo just because, he dances.
The dance scene?
You got to get him for the dance scene alone. And he's just cool as hell in the show. Like, he goes from kind of this guy that tears apart the Avengers, like, I kind of understand him now. I kind of like this guy.
I'm wondering if that's going to be a problem for Marvel eventually. They almost all their villains they make super likable.
Loki is
Like
case
Loki,
in point, yeah.
yes, and Zemo, and is that going to become a problem where it's either you're like this outrageous comic book Thanos level villain, or you're just a villain that everyone's going to like later?
I don't know. I'm digging it though still because come on, again, dance scene. It's all about the dance scene. So, but I love the fact that he comes with not only the human head, but he has the masked head too, which is the classic comic book look.
Right.
And that coat. Oh, that coat.
They literally put him in that mask for one shot of the show just to get the comic fanboys excited.
I'm okay with that. That's okay. But his story was really cool too. So I'm like, okay, I got to get Zemo. Now I'm on the hunt for the other figures. At some point, hopefully I'll be able to report that I've got all of them and I can do Falcon. And that Falcon figure can go head to head with my Vulture Build-A-Figure that I got from a couple years back.
Nice.
So, which the wingspan alone on those is huge.
That's one of the great things with those Build-A-Figure concepts. It's frustrating to collect if you aren't a diehard.
Right.
It's frustrating, I think, for kids.
Yes.
That would drive me nuts as a kid that I would have a random leg and a random arm.
Right.
But if you're really into the line, it's a great way to get you a figure that would have to be a deluxe figure, wouldn't be sold, in a
any other
regular
way.
package. I think that is a really cool thing that they do with.
And this
those
one in
lines.
particular, you're not buying the figures to get another figure. You can get the Captain America, Sam Wilson.
You're just getting accessories.
You're getting the wings itself. And if you miss out on the wings, you still have the figure. So those who are really looking for the Sam Wilson Captain America figure as a new Captain America to stand up for them, that figure is still available to you as a regular one, as one of their Titan ones, other variations of them as well. You're not having to get an arm and a leg or whatnot. It'd be kind of bad if you had to put together Sam Wilson. I'm willing to bet that with the next batch of figures or whatnot, we're going to see She-Hulk and a few others with the new Marvel things, and the Build-A-Figure will be a hulked out Bruce Banner from the show.
Okay.
So that's my bet.
That's a good prediction.
So, yeah. That's what's new on my shelf. What's new on your shelf?
I recently picked up the new retro line G.I. Joe Lady J.
Ooh.
I've been looking. There's a bunch of those figures. So the retro line is a weird thing. It's like a retro looking packaging, but it's modern era figures re-released, sometimes tweaked, sometimes exactly the same. It's kind of the bane of collectors' existence because we're basically rebuying figures we already have.
Yeah, you're getting a better paint job on the face more than anything. But yeah, no, I hear you.
So I don't have the full line. I've never seen some of the figures on shelves. Like I haven't seen Destro on the peg.
I've only seen him in comic book shops, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander. I have that terrible Duke that they put out, which again I don't know why they made a very scene specific Duke figure years ago,
right?
For a diorama type pack, and then they reused that figure not in the diorama pack. So he's screaming, and he has like the wrong chest harness on.
Yeah.
The chest harness is specific to the jetpack that the original version of the figure came with, that this one doesn't come with.
Right.
So that figure's like really goofy. But anyway, I found the Lady J figure. So I've been buying them when I find them, and I did finally find a Lady J. So she's the newest thing in my collection.
Yeah, she's actually really cool, I think. I like the look of her. From what I've seen, the only thing I'm a little hesitant about is just her legs are thicker. I think they're using male legs for the bottom torso.
That might be.
But other than that, I think she looks great. Like the fact that she has a javelin and everything, like that's all part of it.
I really want to find the Scarlet from that line. That figure is a true upgrade over the original.
Yeah. I will admit, a while back I was looking to get one of those, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it's the same body and sculpt of a figure that came with the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that came with Transformer Hound, the Sky Striker jet repainted as Jetfire. I think she's in that set, and it's that same mold or look, but an upgraded, much better paint job on it, even than from that San Diego Comic-Con set. It's just a phenomenal figure. So, but Lady J, dude.
I was happy to find that one.
Yeah, I got to find that one now. Now they need to make Flint.
I'm sure he's got to be in the next wave.
He's got to be.
You don't make Lady J without Flint.
Well, I know that they're starting to show up with the next wave I've seen showing up are the Cobra Trooper and Stalker.
I have not seen them, but I've
not either.
Heard they're out.
Yeah, I've not. I've heard some people have them, but not myself. That's not, send care of Panababa to...
So our next segment that we go into, it varies from episode to episode, but this time we're focusing on a little segment we call Low Budget Bonanza.
Oh, man.
This is when
I've been waiting for this.
This is when we take a look at something that comes from the dollar store or some sort of, off-brand retailer. And today I actually have some Masters of the Universe figures I picked up for Mike here.
Oh, gosh. I haven't seen these yet. I don't know anything about these, so this should be interesting.
So they come in a little tiny bubble that looks kind of like their retro card. And they're pre-posed action figures. They look like cake toppers, basically. Right? They're something that you would find...
Orko's cute!
The thing that I noticed is that Orko looks very much like his Origins figure. And the rest of them look a lot like their original action figures.
Skeletor looks really good. That's...
Check out the He-Man. He looks exactly like his original action figure, pretty much.
Wow. More posed, even, too.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have the Origins head, whereas that Orko looks exactly like the Origins figure. Right.
He also has the cross and not an H on him.
Right.
I'm just like the Skeletor head. That's at least 4 paint apps on this head.
They're not bad looking.
Wow. The sword is great too. Dude.
I was surprised that they gave Man-at-Arms a mustache only because I was trying to determine if these were Origins based or Vintage line based.
Right.
And like I said, the Orko looks like a scaled down Origins figure. That Man-at-Arms feels like a retro figure, but he has the mustache like in Origins.
Oh, wow. He looks really good.
Merman.
He looks really good.
I mean, there's a new Jurassic Park line at the dollar stores right now. There's these He-Man ones. There were G.I. Joes not too long ago. The G.I. Joes were not nearly as interesting as these. They were like straight-armed, stiff-posed, and pretty bad paint apps. These guys actually are pretty cool looking.
It's like 4, 5, 6 paint apps on them, and I love that they're each on a base actually too, and the base actually has imprinted on it Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, they're on a little Grayskull stone base.
Yeah,
thing.
These are really sharp, dude. I need to find these for myself.
Those are yours.
No,
those are yours.
Oh, thank you,
dude.
Those
are yours.
You know what these are going to be great on? They're going to be great on Unicron. That's what they're going to be great. Unicron's going to be eating. I don't know who's going to eat first. He's going to eat somebody tonight. He's got a good snack tonight.
I actually think they would look really good if somebody did a custom paint job on them. They have enough sculpted detail, you could probably get a nice wash going on them.
You know what they're to good scale with? The classics or original Castle Grayskull. More to scale, I think, to what the cartoon depicts it as.
I always thought that as soon as the Origins Grayskull came out, it looked so much better with the vintage figures than the vintage one. Like Battle Cat and He-Man can fit through the doorway with a ton of clearance. It makes it really impressive.
Same thing with Snake Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Snake Mountain, the Origins, Origins Snake Mountain, same thing.
Classics.
There's so many different
too many
names.
Lines.
There's original, there's classics, there's Origins, there's 2000X. Then we've got the Micro. Then we're going to have the next new one that's coming out too.
Masterverse, which is going to have sublines within that. Masterverse.
Yeah.
Masterverse Revelations, and then whatever else they throw in there.
And then they had the subset for She-Ra on top of all that separately.
And then there's going to be the Kitty CGI toy line based on the show. I think the one criticism I would have is the He-Man and Skeletor aren't really facing the right directions to be like fighting each other in a way. Like if on your shelf, if you put them both facing out, they sort of aren't looking towards each other.
You're going to get the back of somebody too
you gotta
at
get
all
the back
times.
of somebody to really have them posed well.
Right. They did not block these guys very well.
Right.
That's a technical TV term from the 90s that I remember. So they did not block these guys well.
Yeah, I lucked out. I found a couple sets. My girlfriend got me a set first, and then I walked into a Dollar Tree and found 2 more sets. So I bought a set to open and then grabbed that set for you.
Oh, man. Yeah, these are going to get open tonight. We're going to have a little fun with those. I'll have to pull Unicron off the shelf.
Yeah, how's he stand?
He stands actually very well. The way Unicron is set up, he comes with a base that you can put the planet on to stand him
Right.
on, or the base can be used to stand him up as well.
Oh, that's good.
But you don't have to use the base if he's in robot mode. His feet are big enough. He's got strong, ratchet enough joints that he can stand on his own if you get him in the right pose.
Yeah.
He's on a shelf that's big enough to hold him headwise and all his gear and everything behind him, but from front to back, there's not quite enough space, so his front toes are just over the shelf. Like literally just over the shelf, but it's still enough to hold him up. It's
Okay.
almost like they're gripping him to hold him there, and it just looks cool.
Nice.
So, yeah, I just love that.
So our main topic for today is how do you support your toy habit? And we want to look at it from a lifetime perspective. Because obviously we're adults now, we have jobs, you can kind of buy what you want.
We have adult money. There's a whole TikTok thing out there. I have a job. I have adult money, and I spend it on these things. That's what we do now as adults. But how do we buy them?
Right, over the years, like how did your collection grow? And for me as a kid, most of my stuff came from flea markets.
Yeah.
Like my early collection, like I never owned a Star Wars figure that came off a card.
Really?
Despite owning the entire collection.
Right.
So the first, 5-6 years I collected them was well after Return of the Jedi. Like this stuff wasn't in the store anymore.
Right.
I was born in '82, so I found out about Star Wars in the dark time.
Right.
Like, there wasn't Star Wars merchandise.
Right.
I remember seeing like Jabba's playset on the shelf at a store before I knew what Star Wars was. Like when I saw Return of the Jedi.
Oh wow.
At like 6, I was like, that's what that thing was. You know what I mean? Like I could remember this memory of seeing that.
Sorry for you. That's sad.
It just came out that way. So a lot of my early G.I. Joe and early Star Wars stuff came from flea markets.
Right.
So that helped me be able to get a lot of stuff cheaply. But of course, that's also why like I own the vintage Star Wars collection, but I'm missing a lot of accessories.
Right.
Because
wow.
they were secondhand.
So that's okay.
So that's like the starting point from my childhood perspective.
Yeah, I admit now, my mom and my dad were very good. Like they got me. I wouldn't say everything I ever wanted or whatnot, but I had to maintain like a certain grade point average in school. I had to do well in like preschool, kindergarten, and all that. And I would usually get most everything I was looking for. Not necessarily big sets or anything, but I was born in 75, so I was right on the cusp of when Star Wars hit. I didn't see it when it first hit movie theaters, but when they released it again in 78 and the toys were just hitting for the first time, I was able to get a lot of figures, and it was from me being a good kid, quote unquote, and not getting in trouble. By the time I was like 5 or 6, I was getting an allowance and I was saving my money, so I had to go in. I could actually go in the store and buy them as they were coming out. This was also time that G.I. Joe started hitting in 82. For me, you were born. Wow. Anyway, in 82, I saw these Army guys, and my dad had been in the Navy. So I was like, I got to get these. I didn't know what G.I. Joe was. And then seeing the cartoon in 83, boom, had to get them. And again, they were giving me an allowance, and I had to earn my toys. By the time I was 9, 10 years old, grade point average was a big part of it. So if I kept a good A-B average, then I could go to the store every couple of weeks and be like, here's $20, $30. That's a lot of money. And back then in the 80s, you could buy quite a bit.
I remember oftentimes we would end up in a store on like a Saturday, and we got our allowances on Sunday.
Oh, that's not fair.
It was just the way it worked in my house.
Oh, man.
So
That's cruel.
I would frequently ask my mom if I could get my allowance early.
Oh, man.
I would frequently spend my allowance before I got it, technically. And also, my mom's favorite line was, did you forget about sales tax? Because I would always be like, look, it's only $4.99. And my mom's like, right, so the $5 I'm giving you tomorrow isn't going to cover this thing. And I would be like,
oh,
Mom,
man.
can you pay the tax? So my mom did hook me up a lot of times on that kind of thing. But
Parents
yeah.
are good for that. Parents are good for sales tax. Oh,
So a lot of those early, like, I mean, for me, my early collecting like that is like, 86, 87, 88. I
Yep.
was getting G.I. Joe, Cops and Crooks
my
figures, things like
gosh.
that. And that would happen to me all the time.
Oh yeah, no, that was the same thing for me, and it was not necessarily the allowance, but having to prove it. I remember vividly there was this one time I was in an Albertsons grocery store with my dad, and this was when Transformers were first hitting. Like the first cartoon was just hitting. I didn't have any Transformer toys yet, and I see in the toy aisle Transformers. It was Optimus Prime. It was Megatron. It was some of the cars, and the one that just spoke to me was this character called Blue Streak.
Okay.
So I pick up the toy and I'm looking at it. He's in car mode. And my dad's shopping around and I find him. I'm like, Dad, I got to have this toy. He goes, it's just a car. You've got some Hot Wheels. I go, but look, it turns into a robot. It turns into a character. I had to justify why it was, $8, $9, I think at the time or whatever, or $10 in a grocery store. It's like, I don't know. This is what I want to learn. I want to learn about robots. And I'm like 7 saying, I want to learn about robots and programming and not programming, but like just computers. Like, okay, throw it in the cart. That's how I got my first Transformer.
Wow.
So Blue Streak is my very first one, and I had to justify it. And it wasn't an allowance thing or anything. He just wanted me to justify it. Like, okay. And after that, he put me into computer classes, and it's all his fault I got into the work I used to do, or work that I do. So that's what I had to do, is justify it and be a good kid.
Birthday and Christmas was really when I would
yeah.
get the bulk of my stuff. And I very quickly realized that, like, that was really when I got the majority of my new toys. And if I asked for stuff from a whole bunch of toy lines, I would have like 1 or 2 things from every toy line. So
Yeah.
I would very specifically ask my parents for just like G.I. Joe or Ninja Turtles. And I kind of followed toy lines through the trend of their cartoons. Like, I was into He-Man and Thundercats. And then those cartoons went away. I moved on to G.I. Joe. And when that cartoon went away, I moved on to Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
And when that went away, I think I got into the X-Men because I was at the point where I was reading a lot of comics.
Right.
And that was probably the end of like my playing with toy era. Then Power
Right.
Rangers came out and I was like too old to be into that kind of thing. So like I would
Never too old
watch
to be
the
into
show and talk about it with my friends
Right.
at school, but I didn't have any of the toys. Even
'Cause
though
that
I
wasn't
really
cool.
wanted the toys,
Right.
I didn't have any of them.
Yeah, Power Rangers hit when I graduated high school.
Okay.
Like right when and that was also the time when I was working at KB Toys. Okay, I have to tell this story real quick about
ahead.
buying toys and everything. So I'm working at KB Toys at the time. I'd just become an assistant manager, and the Dragon Zord was the first time it came out. Very first time it came out. And I wanted to get one for myself. I had adult money, quote unquote. As a teenager,
Right.
this is me adding to my collection. I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy the Dragon Zord because I did get the Megazord. I'm a Transform fan. I like the robots. I wasn't getting the characters. I just wanted the robots. So I had the Megazord. I knew that it combined with it. I'm going to get the Dragon Zord. That day, the very first day we got them in, I was closing by myself. They came a late shipment, 2 in 1 case. That was it, 2 in the box. I take one out. I have it behind the counter because I'm going to pay for it for myself that night and leave my manager a copy of the receipt and whatnot. That one's there. I put the other one on the front counter with all the other Power Ranger stuff. 2 mothers walk in and they see it and they go bat crap crazy. They both reach for it at the same time, and here come the purses flying. They are just beating the crap out of each other over a Dragon Zord. And I just like, go ahead. I'm going to stand back and let you guys fight it out.
Power Rangers was so hot when that came out. Those toys
Oh,
were
man.
so desired at Christmas time.
It gets better because then they see the one behind the counter. I want that one. I go, no, that one's mine. Keep going. And as soon as it got too bad, I'm like, okay, I got to call security. I called security. They broke it up and I said, she won. She gets it. So one of them got it. I got mine. And I got to see a fight for free without pay-per-view. It was great. Nobody got really hurt. Like there was no like blood, but it was just, I'm like, what is going on? They were screaming at each other. Literally their person were like, ah. So I'm like, this one's mine. It's going to my collection. I'm paying with it for my money. You guys can fight it out for this one here. So I sold 2 in one day. Can't complain.
Nice. Yeah, so in my teenage years, I did a lot of babysitting and lawn mowing, things like that. Eventually, I got a job working at a hardware store. And I was still really interested in like my childhood toy lines.
Right.
So I started like going to there's a place if you live near us called the Q Mart that everybody knows around here.
I've heard you guys talk about
And
it.
the Q Mart has like an indoor flea market, and there were vendors there that always had retro toys.
Right.
And so towards the end of middle school and into high school, I was going and buying G.I. Joes I wanted for my collection, as well as like really cheap extra figures that I would customize.
Oh man.
I used to buy a loose G.I. Joe without accessories for $1. So I would just buy I want to make an Arctic version of this guy. And buy a Frostbite figure and use his legs and his arms and switch parts around. But that's where I really started collecting the Star Wars guys as a collector as well.
Right.
It's like I had a bunch as a kid that I got from flea markets or comic book stores or whatever.
Right.
But then at that point it was like, okay, I'm systematically eliminating characters and I'm getting down to where like I need the last 17.
Right.
That kind of thing. But yeah, you start to have a little bit of money you can work with.
On
you
your
start
own.
having a job. It's not begging mom for $5.
Exactly.
And sales tax the day before
Oh my
your
gosh.
allowance comes out.
Well, for me, it was just before KB Toys, I was actually doing babysitting jobs for this one parent and where I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, actually. And that was great because that got me money. And I lived at the time 2 blocks from the mall at the KB Toys I would eventually work at.
Okay.
So every few days I was up there, the manager knew me by name, all the employees knew me by name, and I would go every time they would have new shipments of G.I. Joe figures. This was 89 to 90 when the later line was coming out, but I could buy for $3, 3 G.I. Joe figures to army build something or whatever for $10 and be done. Or there are Transformers that were G2 line or whatnot. They knew me very well, and I ended up knowing the manager. And one day he just goes, "Hey, Mike, you want to work here one day? Do you want to work here next Sunday? Wait, what? Do I need to interview or anything? No." So I started getting real money, working in the toy store, seeing the toys come in that I want to buy. So basically my entire check would almost always go to the toys coming in. And I'd still babysit on the side too to make extra money. And that's how I ended up getting the start to what I have even now to this point.
One of the families that I used to babysit for, they had a daughter and 3 sons. And so they liked having a male babysitter.
Right.
Because they had these rowdy boys.
Yep.
And they had the recalled Episode 1 lightsabers that would get too hot from the batteries.
That's awesome.
And we would have lightsaber battles all the time in their basement with these things until somebody couldn't hold their lightsaber anymore because it would get too hot.
Oh my God. Well, the kids I babysat this was right when NES had the Ninja Turtle game, and we would play that for hours. There'd be times I'd sleep over that night and get paid an extra $20 because I played all night with them.
Okay.
Darn shame. $20 extra? Okay. To play video games with kids? Okay. So yeah, that was a great time. That was just fun.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah, babysitting was not a bad gig.
No.
For the most part.
And there weren't many guy babysitters necessarily. But like you said, I had 2 boys,
I actually got all my gigs through my sister. My sister was like an honors student.
Oh, man.
Like the perfect babysitter. And then it would be like, she would get too busy,
right.
And then families that had a bunch of boys would be like, "Oh, your brother does babysitting? Okay, sure." So I would get jobs that way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
then in college, I worked on campus. I had a little campus job, and could work like max of 20 hours a week or whatever. And then during the summers, obviously, I would work like crazy,
right.
Doing whatever I could. And I remember I got a job. I applied for a like government work job thing. I thought I was going to be like a road crew guy.
Oh wow.
And it turned out the 2 jobs that they offered me was one being a park ranger, and the other one was like working in this office for like the pension system. So I did that. I had this like cushy air conditioned job where I basically like taught middle-aged women how to do stuff on their computer in the photocopier that they should know how to do. Yeah. And so anyway, on my last day working there, I worked there 2 or 3 summers in a row. The last day working there I was hardcore into trying to get all the G.I. Joe figures at this time.
Right.
And I had, hundreds of these figures, but there's 500 in some of them. So there's a lot I still needed.
Right.
And so I remember like I made like $10 an hour or whatever. And so after working 4 hours of my last day, like almost halfway through that work day, I went on this website, GIJoeHQ.com, that used to sell loose figures.
I know that site.
And I bought my version 2 Snake Eyes with Timber and the sword and the Uzi and everything. And I was like, all right, that is like a milestone of my last day working this job. I bought Snake Eyes with it. So half a day's work. Now that figures hundreds of dollars.
Right.
But I was like, it was a character I wanted since I was a kid and never had. And I bought him my senior year of college.
Awesome. Oh, my college years. Oh, man. So when I did college, I actually ended up getting a great scholarship doing live newscast in the morning for a news show, cable access station, and they put this face for news. I don't know why. But they liked me so much that they hired me to do other shows as well and other work for the studio, like you, same thing. But it was like $4.25 an hour. It was minimum wage.
Well, every job I had before that government job was always minimum wage, which was $5.15 for me.
Right.
And that government job was like double. It was like $10.30, which is why I was like, I'll go sweat on a road crew for double the money. Sure, okay.
Absolutely. Well, for me, it was that, and then also working at the mall at Suncoast. And of course, toys there.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sticking kind of with a theme there, and movies as well. So it was a great for a media guy like me to go, I can watch movies all day, buy toys and movies at the same time, and talk this stuff all day on top of being on TV, talking about it and filming all day. Like, it was a crazy time. Was I able to buy a lot of toys? Somewhat. Did I get to really enjoy it? No, I had no time. I was too busy. But it was a lot of fun. I even did use some of the toys I bought, some Power Ranger toys and whatnot, to film certain fun segments for different projects in school too, just because. And I ended up doing a couple of little mini movies and stuff too. There's one where I get killed by a zombie on camera. It's beautiful. If you ever want to find it, go look for Grave Robbers online. It's really bad. Yeah, I spent way too much money at Suncoast. Not going to lie. Independence Day toys, which that was a bad choice. That was a bad choice. Trendmasters toys. I still have one of the ships from the Aliens.
The alien ship has a little guy inside, the little rubbery guy.
Yep. And I think I have one of the aliens where you cracked it open and had the...
Oh, yeah.
He's all rotted out now. But
I remember looking at those in the stores and thinking they looked amazing. I hadn't seen the movie.
Right.
We didn't see a lot of stuff in the theaters in my household.
Right.
I'd see stuff at friends' houses. And actually, I saw Independence Day in school, in 7th grade science class. At the end of the school year, the teacher showed it to us on VHS, like probably the year after it was in theaters. That was when I saw it.
I saw it in a theater 6 times. During that time, and I was in college, I made the erroneous statement, and it's completely wrong to this day, that it was better than Star Wars. I know, the original Star Wars. I'm like, I look back on that day, I'm like, I was wrong. My friends who told me I was wrong were right. I was completely wrong. However, it's a great film. Don't get me wrong.
It's a great film,
but it was not better than Star Wars. So, and I remember vividly at Suncoast, when we got the VHS tapes in, they were going to come out the Black Friday that year, 96 Christmas year.
Okay.
We had to go in on Thanksgiving Day to prep the store. So we had to leave our families and go to the store to put out like 2,000 video cassettes. Yeah, I'll never forget it. But I earned my money. I got extra time and a half, and I was able to buy more toys that Christmas. So it was a good time. And that was my last Christmas in Louisiana before I moved to Massachusetts.
Okay.
So, yeah. That's when I became an adult. Maybe. Not really, but still.
So now we're adults.
Yep.
Adults have adult money, but also adult expenses, right?
Yep.
You've got to pay for storage for all your toys.
We won't talk about how much I pay for storage. Let's just put it that way.
I've got a mortgage to pay.
Yep.
You know, vehicles, insurance, all that good stuff.
Yep.
So how do you find the money? How do you budget for toy buying?
So the way I do it is I go, okay, here's my budget for the month. This is what I got to pay for rent, for bills or whatnot, insurance, the storage unit and whatnot. I factor on it and then I go, okay, this is what's left over after groceries and things like that too. I go, okay, I'll take like 5% of that and say that's my kind of spending money. If it's not going to savings or anything, that's what I go for spending with whatever. And if I make anything extra that I don't want to put in the savings, that's where I spend it. That said, I also, over the years, since 2001, I'll sell at different toy shows or whatnot. Like upcoming RetroCon, I'll have a table there. I'll sell some things like older stuff, or I'll sell on eBay and things like that. Or I'll even trade with friends. If I'm looking for a toy and I have something they want and they have something I'm looking for, rather than change money, we just trade. I know you and I have traded. I know me and our friend Nick and Tony have traded. So, but to actually make the money, yeah, like eBay is probably my biggest source to actually have the extra money to spend on it.
So you're really selling collectibles to buy more collectibles.
Yeah, and you're trying to pare down that large storage room fee more than anything else at this point. So I've had a few various job careers, shall we say, over the years. I kind of fell out of toys and whatnot, and I fell into home theater sales. over the phone.
Okay.
And doing tech support for customers over that. And then after that, after I moved to Massachusetts, I fell into IT work when we moved here.
Right.
And ironically enough, I did IT tech support for FAO Schwartz. So when they had a corporate office here in Pennsylvania, that's where I ended up working. And
So appropriate.
it really was. It was perfect. And I ended up working there for just 4 months before they went bankrupt for the first time in 2004. And after that, I ended up working in IT for a couple different corporations and whatnot afterwards, and kind of done that ever since. I've now moved on, and I'm kind of taking a little break from IT, but it's a good time, and I'm enjoying just toy selling.
Yeah.
And that's it. Enjoying having that as my primary way to do it and have fun with it, and actually meeting new people and learning how to do that business. So who knows, there may be a store in my future. And if not, I'll go back to a career I know and buy more toys.
Yeah. I've been lucky that I have a good career. I work in education. I get paid well for that, but I also do a lot of extra stuff related to my work. I do extracurricular clubs and activities and things like that. So that gives me a little bit of extra money that I can spend on that kind of stuff. And kind of like what you were saying, about once a year, I go through my collection.
Yep.
And I pull out basically a carload of stuff. I just go, I don't need this anymore.
Right.
Some of it's impulse buys. Some of it's stuff I bought at the flea market that I thought was kind of cool at the time. But now I'm like, I don't need this, or it wasn't what I thought it was, or I got a better one. And so then I take that stuff actually to an auction house.
Right.
I probably, could maybe do a little bit better on fees and things if I was selling it myself, but it's a lot of time.
Right.
And so I like I'm just going to drop this off and, you mail me the check later.
Yep.
Kind of ability to that.
There's a way there's something said for that, not having to do all the work for it. For me, getting to go put at a table at a show or anything like that, or selling on eBay, there's time to take the photos, put it, list it, and everything, and then they still take fees out of it.
Yeah.
But doing it that way might be less fees than doing it the way you're doing it. However, you're not taking the time that I'm doing for that necessarily. And at this point, this is a good time for me to do that. But when I was working primarily for other people, I didn't have the time to do that. And I would do like an auction house, or I'd list like 1 or 2 things on eBay as opposed to a ton of things. So when you have a carload of stuff, that's a full-time job just to sell that.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have a small amount of stuff, sometimes a friend, like you put some stuff out at RetroCon for me the one year.
Exactly.
I brought a box of Game of Thrones pops, and you put them out and sold a few of them for me.
Yep.
Things like that. Is an easy way of trying to move some stuff. I've been in situations like that before where I've hung out at a toy show with somebody who gave me a little bit of space. I was trying to sell a flag one time, the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
Oh, wow.
And I took it in a box with like a picture of it assembled.
Right.
And it was behind somebody's booth. Like it wasn't taking any of their table space, but it was like,
Right.
in case somebody saw it. It's actually the flag you own now.
No, it's not.
It is. Yeah, Nick,
What?
Nick eventually bought it off of me and then passed it along to you.
Yeah, wow.
So that flag's been around.
It's been a...
It was at the first the second RetroCon, I guess, for sale.
Oh, wow.
Behind somebody's table.
Well, it's at a good home.
Yeah.
You're
lucky it didn't sell.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. Very lucky. That's a great deal. So,
Yeah.
It has a good home. It's not going anywhere. So it's staying in the home in the collection. So it's disassembled right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't have room because
Mine's disassembled also.
Yeah.
I have a flag that's pretty much complete, and I had it set up for years, and then I had somebody coming in to do some work at my house.
Right.
And I took it down for that, and then a coworker gave me a giant display case.
Oh,
Because he was like going through a divorce.
Oh, man.
And he had a lot of sports memorabilia, and he like took all that stuff down. He's like, Jones, you need this display case.
Right.
And I ended up putting it on top of the piece of furniture. It's like an upper cabinet
Right.
kind of thing. I put it on top of the piece of furniture I had the flag on, and I never put the flag back up. So eventually, like, I have a
Right.
plan to do it, but it just hasn't. I got to like rearrange some stuff.
if only the flag could be put on a wall horizontally safely and have the figures displayed too. I think that would just look cool.
It's such a weird thing. It's
Yeah.
so large and so kind of barely clips together.
Yeah.
It's like the deck just kind of locks together like this, and if you shake it, it'll fall apart.
Right.
And then the plates just kind of sit on top of that, but get pegged into that, and like
Those really thin rails underneath it and everything.
yeah,
Yep.
you can't pick it up in one piece. It's actually a great moment in the Goldberg TV show.
Yes.
When Adam gives away his stuff, and the mom is like stealing the stuff off the neighbor's lawn, and she's trying to pick up the flag, like,
And it just falls apart.
If you've ever owned that, you know it's not going to go well.
It's beautiful.
And she's like trying to pick it up, and it's popping apart when she's doing it. It's a great scene.
No, so we have our adult money to be able to buy stuff. No matter how you get it, you're buying stuff to add to your collection or selling some of that to get your money back to buy more stuff. It's just a cycle that keeps on going and going.
And a big part of the fun is getting the new things.
Right.
So when something has been on display and now it's made it to the back of the closet and you haven't looked at it in 2 years, it's not, depending on what it is, it's not that hard to like part with it.
You mean back of the closet? I've got my storage unit that it takes me 3 hours just to get to something in the back. I was looking for, somebody was looking for a pop figure I had recently.
Okay.
And I wanted to ship it out to them. And I'm like, okay, I got to find it. Where was it? It was literally in the smaller storage unit, all the way in the back, in one of the bins on the very bottom. And I'm like, it took me 3 hours to get to it.
Now, did you have to look through all the bins, or did you know it was going to be in the back?
I knew it was going to be towards the back. I didn't know which one it was specifically, but because they're clear bins, I can at least see what it is. And I saw it right when I got to it. But when I saw it, it was literally, I had moved this bin, I moved that bin. It was on the back wall. And I'm like, okay, back wall bottom. Now I got to move all those 7 other bins off top of it so I can get to that too.
Right.
So, yeah, it happens. So it's just a few toys. Just a few.
So do you find it's easier to buy stuff at retail and pick up like a few figures from the wave like as you see them? Or is it easier to like pre-order a whole wave and buy it in one chunk?
I kind of go by my gut on a lot of things. Because I don't buy a lot of figures as much anymore, and I don't need like huge waves. The Captain America, Sam Wilson Build-A-Figure wave notwithstanding, I don't have to buy them pre-order online necessarily. Short of, I know it's going to be super hard to find.
Yeah.
There's a few figures I've got pre-order from time to time, like Transformer ones and things like that. I know it's guaranteed. I don't have to go looking for it. But I'd rather go on the hunt. I'd rather find it in the store at retail or wait till it's on a site online that's at retail price and not have to pre-order it. That way I know it's in stock. I'm not waiting for a pre-order to kind of come. Now, recently, though, they had some G.I. Joe classified line figures that just went up for pre-order, specifically a G.I. Joe with Breaker and the Ram Cycle.
One of my favorite G.I. Joe vehicles of all time.
Yep, 6-inch scale. It looks beautiful. I was able to pre-order that because I know that's going to be super hard to find, or at least get online initially. Will it be more in stores probably closer to Christmas? Probably, but that's one that I can't say is going to be a guaranteed, unfortunately. The way that line has been particular, so I'm glad I pre-ordered it.
So I loved the toy hunt. Like I used to, go out every week. Like that was kind of like my Monday thing. Mm-hmm. After work on Mondays, I would go to Toys R Us and go to Target because they had they were next to each other.
Right.
Where I live. And of course, Toys R Us is gone now. I also used to on Saturdays sometimes call our buddy Nick and say, "Hey, you want to do a lap around Toys R Us?" And we would meet and spend about 20 minutes just walk around Toys R Us. And that was like our time to catch up each week.
Right.
Instead of like texting or whatever, we would just go walk around the store and see if there was anything there we wanted. But because of like COVID and the fact that one, it was more of a hassle to get through stores, and then two, the stock has been so bad since COVID.
Yeah.
I've just switched to basically pre-ordering everything, and I don't think it's as much fun, but I just don't want to deal with going to the stores. Now, if the stores suddenly start having stock again, I'd probably go back to that.
My old toy, working in a toy store kind of gut feeling, even though it's 20 years old at this point, it's still telling me that I think those days are coming back, at least in a Target, Walmart type location. Right. You're going to see that again. And you also have stores like GameStop and a few others, and in comic shops too. And comic shops allow you to pre-order within those stores a lot of times too, or even GameStop does that as well. Target, Walmart, you can do it on their site, but not necessarily in the store itself. I miss places like a Toys R Us, or a larger toy store like that where you can kind of congregate and everything. Do I see it changing? Yeah, I think we're going to see it go back. I don't think it's going to be the same anymore, unfortunately. And I think as we get toy shows back up and running again, that's where you're going to get more of your stuff. That's where you're going to get your talking with people, hanging out with people, going to tables and saying, I need this, I need that. I really need this Ponda Baba. That's when you're going to see it. Oh, stand up. So... Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, it's really tough with with ordering waves. Like, if you want all the guys in that Build-A-Figure, I would be so tempted to just pre-order the wave and make sure I don't miss somebody, because it's really hard to find.
I really wanted to see, for me, I wanted to see one in person first before doing that. And I bought almost all Marvel Legends over the last few years, especially if they were in the movie, in a media of some kind, like live action. I didn't necessarily need a comic book version, but I wanted to get the MCU version. So this wave, I'm like, if I saw it, then I would buy it. But I didn't want to pre-order it because it's $140 for a wave. That's a lot to drop at one time.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to be good. I don't have to have it, but would it be cool to have? Yes. And then Baron Zemo, yeah, I had to have.
It's tough, too, because some of the retailers, like if you order from a big bad toy store or whatever, you know it's going to come in reasonable condition. But like Walmart's been notorious for just like folding the card back and shoving it in a box that's way too small. And for a mint on card collector, that's horrible.
Right.
I like most of my stuff loose, but I still want to be able to take it off the card and have it be in reasonable condition when I do that. Like I don't, you know.
Well, like you and I were, we might do a toy review at some point.
Right.
We might want to take a picture of it sealed before we even do a video review, so we can actually say, here it is carded, and not have to use, not use a picture from online necessarily. We can go, this is our picture. This is what we use.
Because Walmart crunched it. Or Amazon slapped a sticker on the front of the
box. Oh, don't
box.
even get me started on Amazon. Oh my God. I've been lucky enough, a couple of their exclusives I've gotten, they put into another box, but I've seen the horror stories of literally the actual box, not even the shipper box. Yeah. They just throw a label on it on the box
They've
itself.
gotten better. The first time I remember hearing about it was a vintage collection Slave One toy.
Damn.
And people were buying them to keep sealed, and they had the big address labels right on the artwork, the beautiful photo of the toy.
And you can't take that off at all.
It's not coming off.
No. Oh, no. So yeah, I'd rather buy in store if I can do it. Short of, again, San Diego Comic-Con exclusives or anything like that. So
I think also the fact that I was buying subscriptions of toys for so long with Matty Collector and things like that, that's also turned me more into like willing to pre-order and just wait for it to get shipped to my house. I just sort of got into that, like, this is the easiest way to make sure I get everybody.
Right.
So I honestly am pre-ordering the majority of my stuff now.
I will say the G.I. Joe Collectors Club figures from Series 4 on, I was doing the figure subscription for those. I had to get those.
I got every year of those but one. For some reason, one year I cheaped out.
Oh, no.
I was like, nah, I don't think I'm going to get these. And I talked to a guy at NJCC who was going to get me like one figure out of it that I really wanted.
Right.
One of the 87 Joes, I think, was in that wave. And that was the only one I had from that one wave. I have like all of those but 1 year. There's like 12 of them I'm missing. It just, for some reason, the character selection was just like I was feeling cheap. Or
that wasn't the Scoop wave, was it?
No, it wasn't the Scoop wave. It was the wave with Bullhorn and a few other guys.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I don't know if I was just like financially a little bit more strapped at that point. Like, like I had just put a new roof on my house or something weird.
Right.
But I just, in that moment, during that window, I was like,
no.
I can't do it. There's too many characters I don't actually care about.
I missed out the first 3 waves just because timing and whatnot. But after that, I was like, I got to get them, just those, because, yeah.
I was going to buy the sail barge, the very first HasLab thing. I was like really interested in getting it because, I mean, it's just so impressive, right? It works with the 3 3/4 inch figures, which is what I like for Star Wars. And I was going to get it, but I was going to wait till the end of the pre-order window. I'm not sure why, because now I usually just get stuff immediately. Like, I don't wait till the end of the pre-order wave. But I was going to wait till the end, and my credit card information got compromised the day before the window ended.
Son of a biscuit.
And I was disappointed at the time. Now I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Right.
I don't have
Where
this
would you put
giant thing.
Where would you put it?
Yeah, I would have had fun like opening it up, but again, like we've talked with display and space and stuff, I'd have found a spot for it, but it's so big.
Yeah.
And I just, because I have kind of like a designated Star Wars display thing, I'm not going to take all the Return of the Jedi guys out of that display to put them on the sail barge.
Right. You know where you could have displayed it? On the USS Flag.
On the USS Flag. Just park it on top of the flag.
Yeah, just park it on the flag.
That'd have been good spot for it. All right, guys. In the comments down below, let us know what you do to fund your toy habit. You know, just keep it like legal stuff. We don't want to know about anything else.
You know, don't do any Magic Mike stuff for your toys. It's not worth it. Trust me, I know. Wait, did I say that out loud? Oh, man. Anyway.
Thanks for hanging on the pegs with us for this episode of Pegwarmers.
Rock on. I'm Mike.
I'm Kevin.
Rock on. Have a good day. And we'll check you out next time.